Oh, sorry, I was just looking for the market crash. That didn't happen. Hi, welcome back. If you don't know me, I go by Apex LNB or Apex Investing. I've been constantly preaching that the CS2 market will not crash upon the 30th, and that it will not crash upon the 31st, and that it will continue to slowly rise as it was doing before. Um, People on Twitter completely disagree. People everywhere completely disagree. They thought that, oh, all the knives and gloves are coming off of trade restriction. The whole market's going to go into shambles. It's not, and it will continue to not do so. Not tomorrow, not the day after. Now, I make this video short and sweet. I wanted to brag a little bit about being right. I mean, I've been predicting that the crash would never happen since I basically started tweeting. October 26th, use a little analogy about Johnny and his apples, talking about there's no way that for the amount of supply that's being introduced that the price could decrease this much reasonably. I was talking about, I actually made this post on the 27th. Ship has sailed. V reversal of slight dip at October 30th incoming. Mark my words, little bro. Nice little image, nice little graphic right here. And lo and behold, what is happening? Now, besides that, let's talk about what's going to happen going forward. Everyone expected a crash now. Now people are pushing it back, saying it'll happen in the 31st. Some people are saying that when all of these items get taken off of trade reverse, because if you've been in the scene at all, you've known that there's been an absurd amount of trade reversals done by everybody, right? People realizing, the same people who are so quick to sell their items are so quick to take them back with reversals because they realize that they were wrong. And unfortunately, Steam reversals allow for you to do that without any real punishment. But people are saying, oh yeah, when those trade reversals, when those bans on those accounts lift up, then people are going to panic sell again. And in theory, that would cause panic sell after panic sell month after month, but that's really not going to happen. Sure, slight dips will occur, but I don't think it'll be to the severity that most people are thinking it will. Now, I want to show you some stats, right? So, go to my buy history, see I had some issues buying some stuff off Buff. As a Western citizen, it's pretty difficult, but I bought these driver gloves for $434 minimum wear, and these Scarlet Schmogs for $360 minimal wear. Let's go to float. Wrong tab. Let's go Imperial Plaids. $725 is the lowest they're selling for. Now, obviously, I probably would compromise to a buy order. $640 is the lowest buy order. But point is, right? People are starting to realize the core issue. Everything went down in price when only a few things were impacted at all. If we look at visuals, about here, gloves created, CS2, beautiful visuals being made by our community. I thank them for that amazing work they're doing. Here we go. So if we look at this, right, you'll see that for most gloves, field tested are being produced out the ass, right? Because it's the easiest to produce, right? It's the most often, or the most common to produce. But if we look, there's not that many minimal wears being produced for certain gloves. And if you were smart enough to choose to purchase minimal wears of those gloves during dips, that again, these dropped up to 80% on websites like Buff and up to 70-60% on websites like Float. Look how many are being introduced. For the Scarlet Schmog, look at this, 10 new, right? And the prices went down almost 80% on Buff. It does not make sense. So on it just doesn't line up, right? So for the Imperial Plaids, I bought these off Buff for $430, on Float $700, right? I bought the Scarlet Schmogs. Now they're going for almost $700 on Float, and probably rise to that by tomorrow. My point is that the buying opportunities have been numerous, but they are now past, at least if you're going for golds. I've always preached that golds are not a good long-term investment. For any reason. I think that cases, stickers in some cases, but mostly cases, capsules, stuff like that are good investments in the long term, just because they can't be as suddenly impacted as something like gold can, as we just experienced. But yeah, so going forward, what should you do? I'll keep it simple for you. Buying rare cases while they're still low is a perfectly good idea. Overall, no real value has left the market except for the value that's been exited by people leaving out of fear. What do I mean by that? Well, value was simply shifted from golds to reds, right? There wasn't actually an inherent value loss. It was just shifted around. So in theory, cases really shouldn't drop at all, but they still dropped a tremendous amount. Picked up a bunch of danger zone cases. even recoil cases, as a safe, longer term investment. Picked up winter offensive in some cases. Again, that's you're kind of pushing when you get to those more expensive rare cases, but the cheaper rare cases, snake bites, those were on sale for incredible prices, and they're already going up because people are starting to realize that's not really that big of a deal. So going forward, what do I expect to happen? I think that we'll have slight dips when people come off of trade holds for their golds. Obviously, new ones get listed. It is what it is. Small dips, but I think they'll be bought up immediately and will continue a steady uptrend. I really don't see any reason to believe that we could have issue. Now, I do think there's a possibility that in those 30 days, after the trade reversal items are now cleared and able to be traded again, we will see an influx of items on the marketplace, a small dip perhaps, but we will never reach these lows again. These lows right here that were displayed, when the market initially crashed, these 3 million lows, because at one point, 3 billion, at one point, the market was at a 3 billion market cap. So, all I'm saying is, listen to logic, not emotion. We see people being fearful of everything, but why would the market crash on the 30th, right? Well, new items are getting introduced. How many? Have you looked into it? Maybe 4% of the total golds that have the amount crafted has only been 4% of the total golds. Think about that. It's such a small amount for such a decrease in price. People are like, oh, I'm going to buy on the 30th. I'm going to buy the dip on the 30th. So everyone's sitting here, sitting on empty cash, right, that they're prepared to spend, and then choosing to spend it on the 30th. That's why we've seen such an increase today. Almost 400 million, actually I think a little bit more than 400 million market cap in a single day, right? Because people were planning to buy, meaning that there was buyer pressure, meaning that buyer pressure most likely outweighed the seller pressure, and hence prices raised. So if you were someone who is lucky enough to look at the logic, think about how this should work, and then again, anything can happen. It is a virtual market, and you're smart enough to make a reasonable deduction, you're going to make it out big, assuming you don't get reversed, because everybody's getting trade reversed right now. But I can't guarantee anything. I'm not all-knowing, but I really think that we'll be fine. We'll continue seeing a steady uptrend, and for those of you who are still holding on to your golds, keep holding on to them for a bit. Do I think we'll return to previous highs at any point soon? No, of course not. But I think there's no reason to have fear in the market anymore, and I'm sure people are starting to realize that, seeing, by the rebound in price. But, I think everything's going well, and if you guys want more good market predictions like this, make sure to leave a subscription. Follow me on Twitter, got that linked below. I'm always making posts on there talking about the market, talking about trading in general. I'd love to see you guys interact with those. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Don't panic, everything's fine. If you're going to buy a skin for play or a skin to use, I'd recommend doing it now, because I don't think prices are going to go much lower. Good night, guys. Have fun. Enjoy.